2 years ago, a computer virus called Stuxnet infected and damaged the Iranian nuclear program. And that may sound like a good thing, but we are now learning this type of cyber attack could also be used against us. Last night on 60 Minutes, correspondent Steve Kroft reported on this new cyber warfare battle.
Few people know more about the dark military art of cyber war than retired General Michael Hayden. He's a former head of the National Security Agency and was CIA director under George W. Bush. He knows a lot more about the attack on Iran than he can say here.
This was a good idea, all right? But I also admit this was a really big idea, too. The rest of the world is looking at this and saying, clearly someone has legitimated this kind of activity as acceptable international conduct. The whole world is watching.
The story of what we know about the Stuxnet virus begins in June of 2010, when it was first detected and isolated by a tiny company in Belarus after one of its clients in Iran complained about a software glitch. Within a month, a copy of the computer bug was being analyzed within a tight-knit community of computer security experts, and it immediately grabbed the attention of Liam Omerku, an operations manager for Symantec, one of the largest antivirus companies in the world.
As soon as we saw it, we knew it was something completely different.
Steve Kroft joins us now. Welcome.
Charlie, good to be here.
Good report. Can you summarize in a simple way how they were able to do this and have that impact on those centrifuges in Iran?
Well, somebody created a virus that was designed to hit one specific target in the entire world, something that had a bunch of a certain configuration of equipment that the computer or the virus was able to determine if it was the right target. This is what it was looking for. Yeah. It's one of the most ubiquitous pieces of machinery in the world. It's called a programmable logic computer, and it's just a piece of plastic with some chips in it, and it controls factory floors all over the world. This will tell you what chemicals and what amounts to put into a product that you're making. It'll tell you when to heat up the plant or cool it down. Could be used, for example, to shut off a cooling system at a nuclear reactor. And it was really the first virus to attack this little piece of equipment. And it was after a certain kind of Siemens equipment.
And by doing that, they were able to affect the centrifuges in Iran at a particular place.
Right. What it did was, it essentially, the virus this sits in between the operators of the plant and the machinery on the floor. And what the virus was able to do was able to get in here, rewrite the software, and tell the machines to do something entirely different without the operators of the plant knowing it.
You spoke in your piece, for people who didn't see it, with retired General Mike Hayden, who of course is also former head of the NSA and the CIA director. There's a little bit more of your interview we didn't see last night we want to play right now.
Do you think it was an act of war?
I would not call it an act of war. Look, given my own background, Steve, I mean, I've got this whole universe of things between peace and war that are called covert actions. I don't think whoever did this considered it to be an act of war. The Iranians have not quite responded to it as if it were an act of war. It's in that space between the two.
If the United States were involved in this or to become involved in something like this, how high would the authorization have to go?
You're asking a theoretical question.
Right.
I'm going to give you a theoretical answer based upon my experience in government. Something of this nature gets approved in the West Wing.
General Hayden said a lot of things in which he made space between the fact when he was in government and making policy and where he is now. Yes. But he knows a lot of stuff.
He knows a lot of stuff, and he knows a lot of stuff that he can't say. And he was president or director of the CIA for George Bush. At a time, this would have been green-lighted.
What do they fear the most?
Well, I think that they fear somebody using something like this against us. And the thing that's really interesting about it is that this virus, as General Hayden said, it's not like a conventional weapon that destroys itself along with the target. It's out there for people to copy. So you can actually go online and find the formula for making this, the code.
It's the footprints that Caesar, I think you referred to it, or someone in the report did last night. It really is a Pandora's box that now has been opened.
Right. And somebody else could turn around and modify it and use it against us if they can find the way into our computer system.
Go ahead.
I was just, is there any indication that that's being done or that anything specifically being built on Stuxnet right now?
Well, there's now another virus sort of moving around the world called Dooku that a lot of people think was built by the same people, or have used the code of Stuxnet. that is also targeting PLCs. It seems right now to be extracting information from the PLCs so that it could be used in another Stuxnet type attack. But this is really an historic thing. I mean, it's going to be a component of war from now on. This was an historic event. And it can be used to disrupt all sorts of things.
The conventional wisdom or the perceived wisdom is that this might have been done by the Israelis, but they could not have done it without U.S. help.
I don't think so. I think that everybody feels that it was mostly a U.S. operation, everybody that we have talked to.
A U.S. operation.
U.S. operation, but obviously there was a lot of intelligence that was picked up on the ground. Somebody knew how this plan operated, and certainly I think the Israelis have proved that they have a bunch of people on the ground there.
Indeed. Thank you, Steve.